Welcome to Certain Point of View's Trade School, where each episode a different host talks about a comic book trade paperback that they loved and why they love it.
Hello, I'm Keith Lehtinen, host of Certain POV comic book review show We Have Issues. It is no secret to anyone who's ever listened to my show, followed me on Blue Sky, or spoke to me on Discord, or really in person, that I love me some X-Men. My fandom for Marvel's Merry Mutants goes back as far as I can remember. They've been a constant presence in my life. The first comics I read were old Simonson runs of X Factor, Thor, Power Pack, and a few New Mutants thrown in there. I watched the cartoon. I watched all of the cartoons. I watched all of the movies. Yes, even Dark Phoenix. I watched Dark Phoenix in theaters. I played every single video game with Marvel Mutants as characters. So I say all this as a fair warning. In my exploration of the mid-2000s youth movement within Marvel, I might have a predetermined favorite. So 1 year after Runaways proved that people could care about a brand new roster of young heroes, Marvel decided to capitalize on that idea with arguably their most famous IP. Jean Grey was gone, and Emma Frost was now running the Xavier Institute of Higher Learning with her lover Cyclops. And yes, before we get into this, let me start with some controversy. Scott belongs with Emma. Scott and Jean are boring. There. Fight about that in the comments. Anyways, like the New Mutants and Generation X before, a new class of superpowered students were introduced in the book I'm talking about. New X-Men Academy X, Volume 1, Choosing Sides. Written by Nunzio De Filippis and Christina Weir. Penciled by George Stienty. Inked by Don Hilsman. Colored by Tony Chu and lettered by Dave Sharp. So when New Mutants launched, it dropped 5 brand new heroes on us in one big go. That was pretty exciting. Generation X gave us 7 students, 8 if you count Blink. Rest in peace. So would Academy X give us 8? Or maybe even 10? Well, they gave us 58 students. Yeah, I know. Of course, these weren't all fully developed characters, but in all honesty, there were easily 12 main characters of this series. And most of the other moments got a moment or two to shine. Some of them were just a tantalizing mention in the school yearbook. I mean, all we know about DJ is his powers change based on what music he's listening to. What? Tell me more. Why isn't there more? As someone who obsesses with canon and lore, this was absolutely what I was looking for. My entire life I wanted to be a mutant, and imagining myself in the academy with these kids was so easy. Now, I've gotten a little ahead of myself. Let's back up. This first volume, the one I'm here to talk about, is our intro. And they make a wonderful decision to introduce the characters one at a time, almost issue by issue. This might seem familiar to New Mutants fans. There are tons of parallels in the stories too. Not to get too in the weeds, but both books immediately dealt with the hate mutants face every day. In both stories, a mutant is one of those bigots prior to their powers coming forward. And of course, each book is about the group coming to grips with their new life and their new friends. Let's talk characters, though. The main team in the story, I should say, are literally named the New Mutants after the original team, and their staff sponsor is Dani Moonstar, who absolutely shines in this series. She's wonderful. As mentioned, we're introduced to these characters issue by issue. The first gave us Sofia Manteiga, aka Wind Dancer. Sophia is probably the closest thing we have to a main character in this series, at least at first, but is very much an ensemble. As you might guess, her powers involve controlling the wind. Eventually joining her are Laurie Collins, aka Wallflower, with extremely powerful pheromone abilities, Jay Guthrie, aka Icarus, who is the younger brother of Cannonball and Husk. He has these gorgeous red wings and the ability to change his voice. He was my favorite from the start, of course. David Allain, aka Prodigy, who had the power to take on the knowledge and skills of everyone near him. Noriko Ishida, aka Surge, who was a runaway with super speed and electrical blast. Josh Foley, aka Elixir, whose powers appear to be limited to healing, but ended up being much more later on. And finally, Kevin Ford, aka Wither, who can destroy organic matter with a touch. Now, you might see some light and dark parallels with those last two, and trust me, that is not ignored in the narrative. Unlike the prior Young Mutant generations, the New Mutants have a friendly rivalry with another team of students. This takes the form of the Hellions, led by Julian Keller, aka Hellion himself. He's a powerful telekinetic and the golden boy of campus. Other feature fan favorites join him, such as Cecily Kincaid, aka Mercury, Santa Vaccaro, aka Rockslide, Brian Cruz, aka Tag, and Soraya Kadir as the wonderful Dust. I love Dust so much. You might notice they're kind of short a team member compared to the other team, because after a brief partnership with Spectre, they are actually joined by New Mutants traitor Wither. And to be honest, despite that insane wall of names I just presented, this first volume does a great job of telling you who everyone is and setting the stakes. This is a school first and a hero book second. They have class, they have tests, they have crushes. They have so damn many crushes. They get in trouble. In an era where the mainstream X-Men books were resurrecting long dead Russians and dealing with whatever Zorn ended up being, this was relatively grounded. And most importantly, it's a perfect starting point for a new fan. This is why I always recommend this to anyone who's interested. Not only is there a minimum of homework needed to get what is going on, a surprising amount of these characters will go on to play major roles in the future of the X-Men, especially during my beloved Krakoan age. So now Marvel's given us street-level heroes with the Runaways and New Mutants with Academy X. What's left? I mean, it should be obvious at this point, but we'll talk about them the next time. In the meantime, happy reading. All right, Josue, let's go through our new Comic Day stack. We have a lot to review.
I know. Maybe we've gone too far.
Well, let's see. Marvel, of course. DC.
I got Image, Dark Horse,
Black Mask, Boom, IDW.
Aftershock, Vault, of course, Mad Cave,
Oni, Valiant, Scout.
Magma, Behemoth.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, all we need now is a name for our show. We need a name for a show about reviewing comic books every week. Something clever, but not too clever.
Like a pun? It's kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it's something that seems funny at first, but we might regret later on as an impulsive decision a few dozen episodes in.
Yeah, we'll think of something.
Join Keith and Josue for We Have Issues, a weekly show reviewing almost every new comic released each week. Available on Geek Elite Media and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.